What's up, trickers? Welcome to the first video in the new gym. We're at Illusion Tricking. I'll give you guys a little tour. So here we've got a state-of-the-art spring floor. It's a solid 5 meters by 10 meters. We've got our hula hoops, some collectibles. The tunnel's essential. Some nice LED lighting, you know, to keep it RGB, and yeah. Illusion Tricking. Over on the side of the gym you have the comfy seating. It's very nice. This fan, it's just absolutely gonna blow you away. This thing goes super hard. Here's the bicep enlarging station. It's where you get big biceps. The jump flex, trampoline. You don't want to jump too high on this one. This mat, it's very thick, very nice. We've got boxes for box jumps. You can jump really high. And there's an air track back here. All sorts of things. Barrels, mats, mini tramp. Yeah. So the point of this video is to track my progress to standing dub full. It's a trick that I've wanted for a while, but it just hasn't seemed to come naturally to me. So I'm gonna try, instead of just sending it over and over again and slamming every time, I'm actually gonna structure a training plan to ensure that I'm just gonna lock it in. It's a super cool trick. I feel like it's a good foundational skill to have, like all standing tricks. It's gonna level up my tricking. So day one, the purpose of day one is just gonna be seeing where I'm starting at, you know, how's the standing double looking, what are we working with, and we'll go from there. Let's see how high the standing back tuck is. Next, I'm going to do some dark side falls, because if I'm going to be training lots of standing dubs on my good side, I don't want to get too one-sided, so got to train dark side. I'm going to warm up with it first before I move on to the good side. Genuinely surprised I landed all those. Let's move on to the good side. We're moving on to full hyper next. I've never done full hyper from standing on my dark side, but I mean standing dark side dub would be really cool, so I kind of want to try it. Oh. We'll take that. All right, let's move on to the good side. Finally, it's time to move on to the dreaded standing dub. You'd think it would be pretty close, considering some of those standing full hyper hooks weren't too bad. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So there's the starting point. I think the first obvious step is to ask AI what to do next.
I do appreciate the fact that AI calls standing double full a spicy skill, and it has some decent little tips and tricks, but then I remembered my homeboy, the Scallywagon. He has an amazing tutorial and an amazing standing dub. So essentially one of his biggest tips was do your scoot dub over and over again until it's super easy, and yeah, you basically want to do a terrible scoot, or the worst scoot that you could possibly do, into a dub, and that's pretty much almost the same as doing a standing dub. I took this knowledge outside and started training some scoot fulls both ways on the grass, and I was thinking, you know, if my scoot dub's super good on grass, then it's just going to be even easier on floor. I was very happy with my dark side scoot full hypers. They were probably some of the best ones I've done, and I don't even think I've done them outside before. That's the nice thing about training on grass. It just dials your skills in more than drilling them out on like a spring floor, I feel like. We're getting these scootful hyper hooks in, not looking too bad. And then, yeah, I've always done a little run up into my scoot when I do scoot dub, at least outside. So my next goal was to try do my scoot from a standing start point, which I pretty much am doing in these ones, just doing a little step into it instead of the full run up. And then I wanted to get a dub pop full from the standing scoot, which I pretty much managed to do there. Pretty happy with that, but I couldn't do it twice.
Alright, so today we're going to work on some box jumps and conditioning, stuff like that. Going to start off a little bit fun, just going to do some backflips and see. We've got level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Try backflip up, because you got to get a higher backflip if you want a standing dub. I could probably go higher, like putting the level 2 and 3 together, but I'm just gonna call it there. I'm actually just gonna spam a few more up onto number 4 because it feels like a safe one to drill out. So we'll get like 5 of those in. Next thing I want to try is backflip up all the boxes like one at a time, like going upstairs. I don't know if this is good for like my standing dub training, but it's a fun little challenge. It should give me some power. That is the one I wanted. Happy with that. Definitely a good warm-up, bit of cardio. It would be super cool to be able to do that in fulls, but it's kind of sketchy. Might skip that one for today. Next plan is to do some standard box jumps. We're going to start low, so just with number 4, but I've got a couple 10 kg dumbbells that I'm going to hold in my hands. I'm going to see how high I can get with the 20 kgs, and then once that's not working, then I'm going to ditch them and just see how high I can jump and get some reps in. I'm going to say this is as high as I'm getting using the weights, so I'm going to rep out maybe 5 more of these and then ditch the weights, keep increasing the height. Just before I ditch the weights, I'm going to do a couple double jumps, just because it looks like fun. This is absolutely my max height for a standing box jump. So I'm going to rep out 5 of these, hopefully, and then we'll add more on, and I'll add a little step in, because that kind of makes a difference. Alright, for reference, this is about shoulder height. So I'm guessing that's probably about 160 centimeters, maybe a little bit less. I'm getting out the tape measure for this one. We're going full tit. So the green box on its own is about 15. The whole thing, this is only 150 centimeters. So I was definitely wrong before. And for reference, we're about here, about up to my chin. So see how this goes. That took me a little bit longer than I expected, so I'm actually just going to call it there and finish with some abs and arms before I go to the sauna. So yeah, we're on day 4 of the journey to standing dub. Today we're actually going to do some standing dubs. I'm going to start on the trampoline. We're going to do dark side on there. See if I can land some dark side standing dubs, and then we're going to go down onto something else, maybe the mini tramp. Then air track, and then we'll see where we go from there. Basically, we're just going to see what I can actually land standing dub on. Dark side dub is always a little bit scary, but I'm just going to rip it, and hopefully it all goes to plan. I'm just getting completely lost. Like, I think that might have almost been 2.5, so we're going to call it there and move on to my good side. We got the mini tramp back here. Can't really see it, but I'm going to send some standing dubs off it. Hopefully it looks alright from this camera angle. This actually feels like a really good spot to be training them. It's like just in between, you know, not as bouncy as the trampoline, so I'm still having to get that standing power, but a bit of extra bounce to actually let me land some of them. Alright, I ripped out a decent amount of those, so I'm going to come up with another setup to go from that's going to be slightly harder than that one. I've got these 2 air tracks. I've stacked them up, and it's a little bit sketchy, but I think this might be the next setup. So I'm going to put a mat in front of it and see how it goes. This feels like the closest I've ever been to standing dub. I'm going to call it there. I feel like this setup is what I need to get next in my journey to standing dub. I'm going to make this part 1, and we'll do a little bit of a series because, you know, who knows how long it's going to take me to actually land it. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for part 2. Comment any suggestions that you have for, you know, any tips that might help me land it, or if you saw any like technique that needs adjusting, stuff like that. Let me know. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.